This Valentine's Day, a Scottsdale couple is sharing their story of love through sickness and health, you might say. Sally Lashway was diagnosed with an incurable liver disease and given only years to live. That is, until her husband gave her the ultimate gift, a true piece of himself. 12 News journalist Kyle Simchuk has their story.
Todd and Sally Lashway's love story began like many others. The ASU college sweethearts got engaged on Valentine's Day 1979 and tied the knot a year later.
Normal, busy life until it wasn't.
Right.
In her 40s, Sally began experiencing dizziness and went to a doctor.
But that's where we first got the hint of liver disease.
Sally had never been a drinker. More tests were needed to figure out why her liver was in trouble. The diagnosis was dreadful for the active mother of two.
His final comment was, "Live your life."
Sally had primary sclerosing cholangitis, a rare chronic disease that slowly damages the liver's bile ducts. There was no cure, and doctors told Sally she would need a liver transplant in 5 to 7 years.
We have to move on this.
Todd had questions and went to the American Liver Foundation's website to learn about his wife's disease, ultimately discovering that he could possibly be a living donor.
In my mind, I had already made the decision that I was going to volunteer, which means I had to kind of clean up my lifestyle act a little bit because I was obese. I was, and I drank like every other normal young person did.
At the time, Sally didn't know what Todd had already committed to. Her health remained stable for several years and she continued working as a child development specialist. But in 2008, her symptoms worsened.
Dr. Byrne looked at me and said, "It's time."
Sally's liver was shutting down and she needed a life-saving transplant.
She would be too low on the list for anything anytime soon. That's when I raised my hand and I said, I want to donate.
Sally said yes when Todd proposed decades earlier, but when her husband offered a piece of his own liver,
I said no, because how could we possibly consider both going into surgery and not coming out, one or both of us.
Todd was a match and passed all the screening tests. In June of 2008, they drove to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix.
A nurse came up and she had a mask on, and I looked at her eyes and I knew who she was. She was a friend of ours from church. That was just like such a vision. She was so angelic. For me to see those eyes that I recognized gave me total peace.
Todd went under the knife first. A surgeon removed 60% of his liver, which would soon be part of Sally.
He decided he needed to have his lunch break, so he had a sandwich in between the two surgeries.
A few hours later, Todd and his daughters got the news they were praying for.
The liver's attached and it's working, and I'm sure it was woohoo.
17 years later,
we call it liverversary.
Yeah.
Sally continues to enjoy a stable life and has since become a grandma. She doesn't take any day for granted. Rejection is a lifelong potential, and there is still no cure for PSC.
It just hasn't taken over the liver yet, but it will. So that's just another reality that every day is a gift from God, and I know that at some point the party's over.
In Scottsdale, Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.